Welcome back to decentralize, the only crypto and blockchain show that you need to know about. As always, I'm Owen McCall.
And I'm Tracy Traxler. Today, we're taking a look at market movements, recapping the biggest stories of the past month, breaking down centralized and decentralized exchanges, and we'll be shining a light on fake trading volume in the crypto ecosystem.
Fake trading volume, that's a real problem. You know what else is a big problem? A lack of sunscreen, people. Crypto spring, full effect. Try not to get burned as this market heats up. All right, let's take a look at those markets. Now we've got market cap and trading volume for the last 7 days up on the screen for you there. As you can see, last Friday, March 29th, market cap sitting just over 142 billion. Not a ton of movement throughout the weekend. However, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we see a real explosion. Market cap reaching just under 178 billion last night, and today so far tapering off a little bit, but still high. And the 24-hour volume following suit. Now onto the top 5 cryptocurrencies. Somebody call Louis Armstrong, because all I'm seeing are trees of green, people. Bitcoin up 21% in the last 48 hours, sitting right over $5,000 US. Ethereum up 15%, sitting at 163. XRP nearly 11% up in the last 48, sitting at just about 35 cents US. Bitcoin Cash coming in hot, 80% up in the last 48 hours, sitting at $302. And Litecoin, 42 and change percent up, sitting at $86.82. Now on to the top 3 biggest gainers overnight. We've got IOST coming up with nearly 28% movement overnight, sitting at $0.016. Next up, Dogecoin, everyone's favorite, seeing a 22, nearly 23% overnight movement, sitting at $0.004. And finally, Bitcoin Cash, killing them, nearly 20% overnight, right there at $302 US. Now on to the top 3 biggest losers. Augur dropping 15, nearly 16% overnight, currently at $20 and change. Waves nearly 5% down, $292, and Monero 4.5% down overnight, sitting at nearly $66 US. Now let's take a look at the biggest story since we saw you last. It's time for the month in review. Back in the beginning of March, we saw the $190 million Quadriga CX exchange fiasco take a new turn as Ernst & Young jumped into the case as the court-appointed audit firm. Unfortunately, they didn't really uncover too much, and users of the Canadian exchange are still basically left stranded without recourse to their missing assets since the death of CEO Gerald Cotton. Now, further damning news came out a few weeks later as it was discovered that Quadriga co-founder Michael Petrine was a serial convict who was in and out of prison in the US for a litany of crimes including fraud, identity theft. It's nonstop with these guys. Seems like the more we learn, the shadier it gets. Now, as a Canadian, I feel it is my moral duty to extend a heartfelt sorry to all the Quadriga victims out there.
Ah, yes, a Canadian apologizing. Who would have thought?
Hey, I'm a walking stereotype. What can I say? It's a badge I wear proudly. Mt. Gox back in the news as ex-CEO Mark Kapeles was found guilty by a Japanese court of record tampering to conceal the losses of the then biggest global Bitcoin exchange during and after the massive 2014 hack of nearly 850,000 Bitcoins. That's about 3.3 billion in current valuation. Anyways, Kapeles won't be seeing any jail time as he has been handed a suspended sentence. So as long as he's a good boy for the next year or so, he'll be all right. But however, maybe that's a little bit of justice for those negatively affected by the Mt. Gox scandal. Now, it's been a big month for crypto here in Switzerland. First, we saw the country's biggest online retailer, the so-called Swiss Amazon, Digitech Galaxis, move to accept crypto payments. Then an expansion in the realm of Bitcoin ATMs with major market player Vardex expanding crypto offerings to include a number of altcoins into their machines, which are scattered across the country. The Swiss government then approved a new motion which will allow for new crypto regulations to be created and adopted, supposedly clearing up some loopholes and oversights in the current regime. Finally, March 27th, the 2019 Crypto Valley Summit took place here right in Zug. Next up, crypto payments coming to WhatsApp and Telegram? You betcha. Just over a week ago, a company called Huabit announced the launch of its crypto wallet, which will be able to be incorporated right into existing messaging platforms. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the big social media platforms looking to issue their own tokens and maybe building crypto functionality natively, so we'll see what happens first. Finally, just last weekend, we saw South Korea's biggest crypto exchange, Bithumb, get hit with a hack to a company-held wallet with nearly $20 million in EOS and XRP tokens being stolen in what the company is calling an inside job. You gotta keep your room clean, guys. Come on. Now onto our big stories. Tracy, let's get into it.
Thank you, Owen. Now, whether you're just dipping your toes into the crypto sphere or trade on the regular, exchanges are an integral part of the crypto experience. At the most basic level, exchanges do just that, allow you to exchange your holdings for something else, whether that's crypto fiat, or anything in between. Recently, though, we've seen the industry shift its interest from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges. And here's what you need to know about these two options. Centralized exchanges are the industry standard. They're tried and true, though not without fault. Here, you rely on a third-party intermediary to orchestrate the trades for you, which means you either have to give up custody of your assets to the exchange or trade in IOUs. Now, these centralized exchanges do allow for high trade volumes and quick settlements. However, having to give up custody, or in the case of crypto, private keys, to third parties rubs some people the wrong way, and for good reason. Centralized exchanges get hacked all the time. Well, not all the time, but it's hard to go for longer than a few months without hearing about a new one. Now, because these exchanges can have custody of hundreds, thousands, if not millions of private keys, there's a single point of entry for attackers, which provides access to a buffet of customer assets for the taking. A recent study found that over $1.3 billion has been siphoned out of exchanges this way. Now, on the other hand, decentralized exchanges, or DEXs, get rid of this intermediary function and do not require customers to give up custody of their private keys. Instead, those looking to sell assets are matched directly with those who want to buy. It's peer-to-peer trading, which is, as usual, a gift and a curse. So long as the software is bug-free, the DEX solution is much more resilient to hacks. Traders have custody of their assets right up until they're traded, leading for far fewer cries of, "Where'd my coins go?" Now, of course, keys get lost and passwords get forgotten, but at least in these cases, there's no one to blame but yourself. Okay, so to recap, with DEXs, users might get some increased security, or at least a shift from trusting a potentially exposed intermediary with key custody to reliance on the individual. But at what cost? Traditionally, DEXs have suffered from hard-to-navigate user interfaces, as well as slow settlement times and an inability to foster high trading volumes. Now, UI design is definitely a solvable problem, but speeding up settlements and pumping up volume were thought by many to be a different story. Not so, or at least according to much-anticipated DEX newcomer known as Nash. We had the chance to talk to co-founder Fabio Canison about how these issues might be overcome.
When you ask, okay, so liquidity and speed has been bad on DEXs, is more about, so most of the approaches of the first generation of DEXs, they have poor speed and poor liquidity, but that's not actually a feature of DEXs itself. It's a feature of the kind of solutions that those projects implemented. So our solutions are completely different. So we are not keeping the order book on chain. We are not using a relayer system. We are using state channels. So it's completely different technology, which gives us completely different profile on how things on speed and liquidity. Right? It's the same way that centralized exchanges before, they were much more insecure and then the biggest exchanges today. So they also evolved, right? Because they are using different technologies. So that's the kind of approach we take on our DEX.
Leveraging new technologies to address shortcomings, that's the name of the game. And it looks like we're already due for a whole new freshman class of DEXs, and some of the big players are already getting in on the action.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, it looks like Binance is going to move in that direction. We've already seen a lot from the Bitfinex family as well, already launching a few. It's going to be exciting. Now, Tracy briefly mentioned trading volume in relation to the centralized, decentralized exchange face-off, but I'm going to pick it up again because of a damning new report which alleges that up to 87%, that's right, 87% of reported exchange trading volume is at least suspicious and might just be straight up fake. Now, this claim comes from crypto trading analytics platform, The Tie, which took a deep dive into the reported volumes of the largest 100 exchanges and compared it with the number of visitors to the platforms, as well as the volume of certain trusted exchanges, your Coinbases, Geminis, Binances. My favorite finding is this one. Quote, if each exchange averaged the volume per visit of Coinbase Pro, Gemini, Poloniex, Binance, and Kraken, we would expect real trading volume among the largest 100 exchanges to equal 2.1 billion per day. Currently, that number is being reported as 15.9 billion. Tracy, this is getting out of control here.
I mean, I guess if you're going to cook the books, you might as well swing for the fences.
Maybe you're right. Now, of course, this is just one report, but it comes on the heels of industry rumors and a handful of other research undertakings which allege similar discrepancies. So what does this mean for the industry? I caught up with ZBX Exchange founder Jimmy Zhao to get his take on the situation.
I think it has really bad consequences because, for example, these will give a sort of illusion. There was a lot of community. For example, there are a lot of crypto funds. They want to go and trade. When they actually place the order, there was this because of fake volume, the order never got matched, and you lose money for your investor, for example. And also for a lot of tokens, if they want to get listed somehow on some exchanges, because everybody reporting fake volume. You don't really know, like, do they have really users or just like, you know, the volume is there. So it's not very healthy. And it's gonna, in the long term, gonna come back haunt this entire industry.
Man, the last thing this industry needs is to be haunted by the ghosts of fake trade volume. Spooky. Not a good look for anybody. So Jimmy brings up some good points, but his isn't the only sentiment out there. I got to talking with Mark Berger, advisor for tokenized securities exchange Currency.com, and he had this to say.
I think it will clear out a lot of the bad exchanges that didn't know what they were doing. One example, sorry for you being a Canadian, but one happened in your country, right? And as long as those exchanges that are not knowing what they're doing start to fail and leave the space, we will come back stronger because we then have real technical people, real financial people who know what they're doing, and it will improve the space only because no one needs 300 or 600 exchanges or whatever the number is.
Cutting the fat from the industry, maybe not the worst move, and kind of something similar we saw in the crypto winter to the whole ecosystem in general.
Well, it's definitely interesting to hear two very different viewpoints. Now, we're curious to know, though. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to keep it locked to decentralive to stay up to date with all the moving and shaking going on in the industry. And hey, here's to a hot and spicy crypto spring.